Hi, this is Attila16 and this is a video guide of Wargame Red Dragon. In this case I will present to you a deck. I will explain to you the rationale of it, and in this case it will be a naval deck. At the point where I'm doing this, the game is still a beta, so some aspect of the game might still change, especially when it comes to the balance. But this is a deck which is kind of defying the current vision of strength and weakness of Nato versus Pact, and this is a deck which is rather balanced in my opinion, because there's a good diversity of ship. It's mostly focusing on ship, it's not all about air spam, but it's a deck which is really rewarding because you need to use it tactically, and if you use it right, it's really strong. So I will now present to you the different units and choice I did. So let's see. So this is a NIST TRB90H. Now this is a riverine, well, a ship which is designed to go into a river area. And as a result of this, this is actually a ship that many people have a tendency to ignore. But I think this is probably one of the greatest strengths of NATO for naval only fight. Because this unit uses Hellfire missile. And these missiles, they don't have much of a range. They have a good accuracy, good stabilizer here, AP power of 26, which is okay. And the ship itself only 40 strength, not that high. Uptake exceptional, make them a good scout. They have a machine gun, probably won't even be used in a fight. And they have a grenade launcher, which can actually be used to stun the enemy ships. But it's really the Hellfire here which is the key of everything. So I used two groups of them. They cost only 50 each unit, and you get 12 of them. So this is a very good flexible ship, and what's good about the Hellfire is that the anti-missile defense will not intercept them. So if you're actually aiming right, normally the missile will hit the target and ultimately destroy it. So this is, I think, one of the best kept secret right now, and I will invite you to use it more. Okay, then I use the LCU 1610. So this is a supply ship, pretty standard. Only use one group. I guess sometimes it's practical to have two if the battle lasts a long time. And the Hellfire missile of the first ship I presented, they take a lot of supplies, so having more than one group can be a good idea, but it's all a question of, I guess, what you like. But in my case, usually with team play, other player can actually support you. So if you have a good team with you, you should be fine. Fremantle, that's actually a mortar ship. It's designed to go in the river, which is actually a good option here because it's mobile, pretty fast. Can hide into some specific corner of some island, making them harder to spot. They are smaller than bigger ships, so harder to spot once again. And since it's a command ship, you can leave them behind. They only cost 100 points, which is much better to leave behind in an area where there won't be any fight than a much more expensive command ship. So this is probably your best ship not to be used in a battle, probably. But with the mortar, you can actually put smoke screen, which might disrupt the enemy fire a little. Okay, then I'm using the Pohang, which is that ship right here. And this one only has 2 missiles. Good range on the other end, but the accuracy is not that good. What's interesting with that ship is mostly the anti-air defense. So you have that CIWS, well, the Dardo, which is pretty good. And you have also a medium CIWS, so this is a ship which is rather reliable when it comes to intercept missile. It's not that expensive, costs only 125. Here I have 2 groups of them, so that gives me 10 ship available. So this is a ship which you can afford to lose. It's also a pretty good mobile, platform for missile, they don't have many, but if you have a supply ship nearby, they will refill pretty quick, so it can maintain a good fire at long distance on the enemy. But this is mostly interesting for defensive purpose, so you'll be able to intercept missiles. Also, the main cannon has 2 HE power, which is okay. It allows you to potentially damage enemy ships, especially the lighter one. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. This is your, I will say it's mostly an anti-air and anti-missile unit. Then I use the Type 21, which is by all means pretty bad on nearly all the commonly looked at aspect. So if we look at it here, you have Exocet missile, which don't have a particularly long range of 6 kilometers here. That's pretty small. Accuracy of 45. It's a little better than the harpoon, but it's not particularly high either when you compare to packed stuff. The anti-air here, it's accurate but very short range, so you cannot really expect this to destroy everything. And the CIWS close-in weapon system is bad. So this is a ship that on these aspects don't look particularly good. But where the good stuff is the cannon. Look at it. 7 HE power, which is actually really high. When you look at the Pohang, it's only 2. And most ships don't have more than 2 or 3. So this is a very strong cannon ship. And what that means is that if you engage the enemy in close quarter, this will be your ship to do the job. It's also not particularly expensive. You will have access to 3 of them, so that's good. And when you support them with Pohang, that provide you a proper anti-missile defense. But this is really a ship that you will use in close quarter. Then Atsuyuki. I use the Atsuyuki because it has a good CIWS, so this one is even better at intercepting the enemy missile. Also, it has 8 harpoon, so similar stats to the Pohang, just more missile. So if you supply this ship well with supply ship, you can fire from afar on the packed fleet. Also has a good anti-air defense here. And this is a big ship, so lots of points. It's able to handle itself, and 3 HE power. Okay, and finally I use the FA-18E Hornet, a Super Hornet actually. This one plane has a 50% ECM, which make it highly likely to survive the enemy anti-air. Also has 4 harpoon missile, which are the type of missile that you can fire from 5.6 kilometers, which is beyond the usual anti-air defense range. Also, the accuracy is 65%, which is pretty good. It's a little lower than the Russian accuracy for their ship-to-ship missile. But 4 HE power, that's good. And it's good to have 4 missile in this case, because usually the anti-missile defense, let's call it that way, has a tendency to be able to intercept at least 3 or 4 or 5 sometimes missile. So having more missile, the better. And you can call in 2 of them, so fire 8 missile, and usually you'll have at least 1 or 2 or 3 going through the anti-missile defense, and you'll be able to potentially kill an enemy ship. So that's why the NATO strength is really that air force. They have a very large air force. You can put a lot of planes in there. But in this case, usually what happens is many players, they only spam plane, and I find that kind of boring. My deck is much more balanced and also much more reliable. You use these airplanes to complete an attack, a missile attack from your ship, but it's not your main weapon. You will kill isolated enemy ship also with these. You can intercept enemy fighters, but usually I see this more as a necessary complement to the deck than the main weapon. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck. So this is naval specific. You will only use that deck in the map which only has naval unit, but I think with this you will have a lot of fun. And now I will show you at least 2 replays where I use this deck, or actually a variation of this deck. In the previous version I did not use the Hornets, but I think it's a useful addition or a tweak. So let's go check these replay, and you'll see that the result of this deck really lead to amazing battle. You will have a lot of fun. Let's do it. Okay, so this is actually the second battle I did play with this deck, and this was a friendly match between me and Alf. So essentially Alf was aware of what I was going to do in this, and the point here was mostly to bring a large amount of those light ship. And you can see here I have a lot of Pohang. My Atsuyuki were deployed at first. I'm using my Fremantle to well, keep this zone, capture other zone to get some points. But the main event here was really to test out these STR-B90H. And I think what's important here is that usually in most round I've been in, these ships have been invisible. You never see them, and a lot of people which are complaining about the balance of the game probably never use these, because they are absolutely game changer, let's call it. Yeah, it's really good stuff. You will see this. Now, of course, I must say this battle, I'm showing it because, first of all, it is pretty impressive as a battle. I think the result is spectacular visually speaking. But also I'm showing this because I think it's important to realize the rationale around this deck, and this is a good illustration of it. As you can see right now, there's no sound for the engine. Hopefully that will change in the future. I just hope that it won't be too annoying sound, because a boat engine can do a lot of noise in reality. Okay, so there wasn't... well, let's see. What am I seeing right now? I'm seeing nothing. And what is Ulf seeing? He brought the chopper, so he did not see me that far. Now, what's interesting about these small ships is how stealthy they are. The enemy will only spot them if they have a chopper or a good ship to spot them. Now, in many cases, from my experience in sea battle, you really end up having 2 fleets which are just firing at each other, like these 2 here. So, and in this kind of situation, the Russian definitely have the advantage, because those Nanushka and Tarantule, doesn't have a Tarantule here, but the Tarantule and Nanushka have a really good missile, and usually they manage to pierce through your anti-missile defense. So here you can see my Pohang are leading the way, and if we see what Alf is seeing, he doesn't see my small ship over here. You only see my main fleet here. Well, in my case, what am I seeing? I know that he did capture this, and I'm actually moving there to intercept with my small ships. While here I'm capturing that zone. So now I do have a visual on the Luda. You can see that now my ship was hit 3 times, and it barely did 2 square of damage on it. I lost my ship, but just the number make be able to beat this Luda. And there we go. So the Luda is gone. Cost me only one ship. A lot of missile. But that's okay, and that's part of the deal, I suppose. Okay, while here, you can see my Pohang are managing to intercept the enemy missiles. I'm firing back, but there's very little hope of actually piercing through the defense. I guess if Alf had more Tarantula, it will have gone much more in his favor for the fight here, because the Tarantula has a much longer range. It's just that they have less missile than the Nanushka. So it's kind of a choice. The Nanushka has stronger missile, I believe. I can see here that these missiles have 8 HE power, 60% accuracy, but only a range of 6 km. So here there's a kind of exchange of fire, which is not particularly conclusive. Neither missile managed to pierce through. Both fleet anti-missile defense are able to intercept. While here I'm bringing my small PT boats to rearm at that supply ship over here. And I think this might actually reveal how much of a supply consumer are those Hellfire. So you'll probably see all that supply ship go empty pretty quickly. Well, there's also the fact that my Pohang and my Atsuyuki are shooting missiles. Actually, I think no, none of these missiles managed to pierce all the way through. Oh, actually one did. So there was 1 square of damage in this exchange of fire so far. Now what's interesting is I have those small ships into my fleet. But if you look at what Alf was seeing, he did not see them at all. So here what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling back, and my intention is probably to meet with that supply ship to make sure that all my Hellfire missiles are refilled completely. You have 8 of them per small ship, so that's a good amount. And now I'm bringing my Type 21. So this is a ship which mostly rely on the cannon, of course. With that amount of HE power, it's very powerful at close range. You can probably beat most Russian ship easily with it. Actually, let's verify that. Now, if we look at this, oh, the hood alloy has 8 HE power. So the Type 21 has 7, which make them pretty similar. Here, the Russian have 6 HE power for the cannon here. Here they have 3. So essentially all their ship, which are deployed right now, have better cannons than what I have here. That's the surprising part. But at Type 21, I have 3 of them, so that should go well. Here you can actually notice that Alf was doing a small flanking maneuver here with these ship. And if we look at AP power of 12 with the recoilless gun, which is pretty good, by the way. Okay, now you can see how I'm moving forward my fleet to get a better position. Also, this is to accommodate a larger fleet. And also, since I know that they fired a few missiles here, I'm starting to be low in supplies also. I know that the rain of missile will probably slow down. Coming in with my supply ship. While here I'm moving around, and let's go into Alpha view. You can see that he doesn't really see me. Even when I had my small ships into this area, he did not see me. So I guess the view range of the packed fleet is probably around there. Yeah, look at that. Now he see me, and it's because yeah, now he sees me. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually moving into the flank, because now my fleet are engaging the pack fleet from the front, and the front part is where you have the most armor. So by keeping the enemy engaged and focus on my fleet here, I'm expecting to make a move with my small ship and shoot them in the flank where they have less armor. So that will make my missile much more effective. The exchange of fire continue, but none of my missiles actually managed to pierce through so far. They are all getting intercepted by the Udaloi. The Udaloi is a very good ship. It has, let's see, 30% ECM, which is really high, and the CWS is exceptional, so it's very good stuff. Okay, at that point I believe that I just spotted the fact that he was flanking me. I wasn't aware of that before. And since I wasn't interested in getting engaged by on the side, so I decided to rush forward. Also my small ships were in position there. So that was pretty much the signal of the charge. And now that's pretty much the spectacular part of the fight that has begun. So you can see all my fleet rushing in, engaged by a lot of missile here. While my small ship are coming in, now they are in range. First target they meet is the Udaloi. Oh, there's also the smaller ship over there. So losing some ships, but still pushing through. While the main strength of my army is likely those small ships. They're just overwhelming the enemy defense and shooting them in the flank, so killing everything with that. On my fleet merging, and now this is pretty much what you can call a melee for ships, which is something that never really happened. There's actually a few chopper over there, which I did fire a few rounds at my ships. So a lot of damage on both fleets, but I'm coming out on top. If we go back and see just the amount of ships all over the place. There's also a few ships here which are coming to reinforce the pact, a little too late. And I also have a couple of reinforcements coming in. And that's where I turn around with my small ship to engage these. The hope of stunning them. What might be different in this deck is that the F-18 were not used. I used Pegasus, which is a very reliable small ship. As you can see, they are very fast, so if you want reinforcements quickly, that's a good unit to bring in. It's just that I find that the F-18 is probably more adapted to destroying stronger ships. So here the battle is pretty much over now. Let's speed things up. Now it's all a matter of going to finish off the remaining ships. I'm just overwhelming the last Luda. And with the grenade I'm suppressing him, probably also creating those damage of Captain Kill on bridge, radar antenna crippled, water ingress, weapon operator injured, officer injured, radar antenna crippled. So a lot of damage, probably caused by the grenades, not sure though. While my ships are shooting point blank at the enemy ships, and there we go. So that was a pretty good battle, as you can see. And yeah, well, essentially we don't see the damage I did there, but you can appreciate the effectiveness of that move. Of course, I will say that this battle wasn't necessarily representative of what you will have all the time, but that was a 1 versus 1, so you have a much more focused attention. But if you play a 4 versus 4, which I'll show in the next battle, there might be a different way to approach this, and I think that this was a battle here which was all about testing out the concept of the deck, and the next one is proof in action. So let's move to the next replay, and you will really see how sophisticated this deck is and how effective it is. So let's do this. Okay, so this is a battle which you can pretty much qualify as in the wild. So this is another evolution of the deck. In this case, we were 2 players, me and Alf, which knew what was going to happen, and there was 2 other players in our team which were not part of the plan. So this is like your scientific test of it. Also, I was using Pegasus here, which I now replaced with F18. But I think having F18 will probably be better than those Pegasus after thought. So essentially what we were going to do here was moving to the right with our small ship and try to capture Lima. Now, of course, the 4 other players, which were the Pact, had no idea what was coming, and we had no idea what was their plan either. So this is pretty much a test in the wild. I will speed things up. One of the players we were with, he was specializing toward airplanes, which is something very powerful for NATO. They do have a lot of planes, and they do have the capacity to kill anything which is isolated at sea, so with those planes. Now, my approach in this battle was more toward the ships. So the guy that did the airstrike, he did well. Actually, I think he did very well, but ultimately he did run out of planes, and that's why ultimately it's the 3 of us which were at sea that ended up having to fight the final fight. And actually, let's go see what they were seeing on the other side. Now you can see here we're doing some air attack over there, and there is some pretty good damage being inflicted to the enemy fleet there. And they do not have any idea of what's going on here, other than seeing a few Type 21. Which at this point they cannot really say what they're doing there. They might just be going there capturing Juliet. But they don't really see anything. Well, if we look at what's going on here, you see a lot of Nanushka, Tarantule, Unjiang. So these have a good anti-air. I can see that actually here, this is something very strange. I have my Pegasus going here, and they actually managed to shoot them without seeing them across that hill. That was weird. So I think that's probably a kind of bug. Nonetheless, I think they never saw that. Yeah, they were not seeing us. So we were that close to them, and they had no idea we were coming. So imagine the surprise. Now, that's 2 players, so that's more than me going in, if we look at what I'm doing right now. So I'm the one leading the charge. Alf is following with his own ship. The amount of points at the beginning was pretty high, so that's pretty good. They lose 1 ship now, but just the amount of missile going their way. What I did originally is I targeted their supply ships. You can see that we're actually destroying their stuff. Pretty good. And the good news about those Hellfire is that the anti-missile defense, they don't shoot at them at all. So you can appreciate that. You have 8 missiles per ship, so that's pretty good. Half was focusing his fire on those ships here, while I was shooting that command ship over there. There we go. Now we have kinda destroyed the old place, and the player which started here, which was the host, left the battle. We're supporting our fleet with a few ships here, because you can see a few Pegasuses, as well as type, well, Ponghang and what else here? Yeah, more Ponghang there. But that probably was a bad idea, because look at all those missiles coming our way. And you can see that fleet reacting to us. So that's the point where we just pulled back. So that's when I ordered Alf, okay, let's get out of here, too dangerous. And moving my Pohang there was very much a mistake. Because you can see how quickly the packed missiles are able to destroy those poor Pohang. Now I had moved the Fremantle there, but sadly there was just too many things around, so it got destroyed. But if we hadn't managed to capture Lima, actually here I did a smoke screen, but it got destroyed by planes. But if we had captured Lima, we would have been in very good condition to do airstrike on the enemy fleet, as well as potentially calling in reinforcements. It's just that there was no way we could fight. Our ships were out of ammo, which goes away really quickly. It's also very expensive to replace. And you can see here my supply ship getting destroyed. So at that point it's really the runaway situation. Now here what's weird is how the missile just go through that hill. Well, they fly above it and then disappear. I think that's probably a bug. We will likely have been able to save more of these ships from dying if there wasn't that weird bug. But here's the thing, we're losing ships, but when you look at what we did in terms of damage, we did 3,290. Of course it's not all just us, but we did take the lead already at the beginning. On top of that, they're losing Lima, which is a zone for reinforcements, and it's also a zone that gives them points. So that kind of slowed them down, which is, I believe, very important, because here we have actually 5 zones under our control, while they only have 4, so we're making more points, and ultimately this can be a war of attrition, so this is important, especially considering all the ships cost so much. Now the only trouble is that when those ships are really damaged, they can be very slow. So they're really pulling back slowly but surely. And they're out of sight anyway. So having done our damage over there, and if we actually go see what's going on here, you can see that these ships are nearly dead. So we did a lot of damage. Our ally somehow decided to send his plane off the map into, yeah, under the water even. And somehow, I don't know how he did manage that, but he did manage to kill everything. So look at that. This plane actually managed to kill 3 ships. I have no idea how he did that. He lost his plane, but really that was an heroic move there. And it's a single plane that did that. Now look at how difficult it is to actually reach any ships in there. All the missiles that he fired were all intercepted. Now, well, here he did hit a little this ship, but did not destroy it. So you can see just by the concentration of these ships how tough it is to actually pierce the packed defense. And actually those muskets, they are also similar to the what's it called? What ship it is? Forgot the name. Bohang, I think. Pohang. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, also here you can see the Fremantle, which is concealed in between those hills, and a bigger ship cannot go there. So this is a kind of safe position for it. And normally, if you have frigates or that kind of stuff, you're stuck into deep water. Over here, you're exposed, while with that Fremantle, you're just safe from enemy fire. Of course, the airplane can still target you, but it will need to risk themselves. Well, here our ally sent his ship over there to capture the place. Now the problem with this is that he exposed himself to the enemy anti-air, well, actually missile over there. So his ship took some damage there, and he never really put it at safety. So MiG-29 doing an airstrike there. This vessel took a lot of hit there. So what we were doing at that point, me and Alf, was first of all rearm, as you can see. Big rearming operation. And this is consuming a lot of resources with those Hellfire because they are really expensive. And what's remaining of... well, Alf had the same deck as me, essentially. I think he might have changed one Pohang for the F-18. So there's two variations there. I replaced the Pegasi for F-18, while he did change one group of Pohang for the F-18. So after being safe here, doing some fix also, some of my ship were really damaged and I was fixing them slowly. So we waited for that. Alf took the initiative, actually, yeah, he took the initiative of sending his fleet on the other side since they were slower anyway. So our intention was to probably exploit an apparent weakness here. And I think this is what's important in the sea battle. It's to exploit every weakness possible and imaginable that you might have on the enemy side to potentially destroy any isolated ships. Because you do need to hold those zones to get more points, and the points allow you to get more ships. And that's why destroying these isolated ships over there or over here like we did in the beginning, this is key to ultimately outnumbering your enemies. So here we go, moving our small fleet of boats. And now, as you can see, these guys which were with us, they did not really knew what we were doing, so we were kind of saying, oh, we're going to do that and this, but ultimately they did not really have the kind of deck or situation allowing them to do anything about anything we were doing. And for example, here Himp Corp, or Cup, yeah, okay, Himp Cup. He's doing a lot of hit and run with his plane, and I think that's what NATO is good for. And that's usually what many people complain about, is that the airstrike from NATO are just too strong. Here you can see one F-18 shooting down what appears to be... what is that? Not sure what that was. I don't think it was an Su-27. And it did not really look like a MiG-29. Anyway. So you do hit and run with your planes, and actually many people, all they do is send one ship for each zone and they just spam an enormous amount of planes. And I think, yeah, that's kind of boring. So this guy managed to destroy the ship in Hotel, which was a Luda. He's also making a big strike here. You can see actually some of his missile breaking through. And he did kill one ship, which is very important. But I think my main complaint is that it takes so many planes to actually kill a ship that that's why you end up with strategy of spamming. It's because it's the only way to break through. So here we're starting to be in position to do something. Moving in my small fleet. We're grouping up a fleet here in a kind of holding position. Let's speed things up a little. Here we took a risk of deploying a ship to hold that position because this is 5 points, which is a lot. But we ended up losing the ship anyway. Fortunately, one of their ship was shot down by the planes. Another one, actually 2 of their ship were killed. And I think this is a good demonstration of the attrition principle of sea battle in this case. Oh, that nearly hit. Okay, so you see my fleet and the one of Alf flanking. Actually, that's what we see. And that's what they see. They don't really see much. They see that Oliver Hazard. But they are not aware that we're flanking with ships. And we're really just coming by behind them without them ever seeing us. And actually, I think their plane were unable to see us, which is kind of strange. Oh yeah, they saw us now. Okay, so the plane do see you, but it's very hard for them. And they're unable to actually keep an eye on you to shoot you back. So they briefly saw us, seemed to send a MiG-29 to investigate. Well, here, what are we doing? So we're building up a fleet here. They don't really see it, so they don't really know where the main fleet is. Now one of my ships is receiving fire from the Najin. You can see that these ships have a pretty good range. It's stunning my ship. Even potentially killing it. Yeah, they did kill it. So they're trying to intercept us with planes. But the planes cannot fire their missile, which is also another perk of this STRB-90. Is that you're unable to shoot them with missile. The planes, they can fire their main gun, but it's really ineffective, all things considered. Okay, so they're calling in a Tarantule 3, which is an okay ship, but it's being welcomed by a large amount of missile as an answer. Now the issue with these ships being destroyed is that sure, we're killing stuff, which is a good thing. Now the bad thing is that we only have 8 missiles per ship, and we still have those 3 ships to destroy. Well, that was a bit of an issue. And also they're facing us, so that means when you shoot them from the front, you have to go through, I think it's 4 armor. But still, we're still going through, you know, beating everything. And there we go. So that was pretty good. Managed to clear hotel. Now we were kinda puzzled by should we pull back there, or should we pull back there, or should we engage this, should we go there? Now we ended up deciding to kill that Tarantule, because Tarantule have a long range. And we still had a few missiles, but it was clear that once we had taken care of this one, we were out of missiles, so the tricky part here was really to escape. So we killed the ship, and now we continue our escape over there. And you can see how they really did not manage to do much damage to us. Might have lost a few ships, got a few of them damaged, but not that much. And what's interesting also is that this is only a small portion of our fleet, because now if you look over there, we're starting to have a pretty good fleet deployed. Well, maybe not this good in terms of quality, but certainly good in terms of quantity. So at that point, the goal here was largely to escape this place. And we took a few, I guess, collateral damage in killing those cargo ship. Probably wasn't that necessary to do so. We will have likely destroyed them later on. Might even have saved a few of our ship to just let them be. Because while the guns are not particularly amazing against those small ships, they can still damage them. Also, this zone is a zone for plane reinforcements, so by attacking there, we also cut them out from that. Here, a big air attack, which did not. Look at that, nothing goes through. This is one of the big critiques that many people are doing, is that the pack anti-missile defense is just so strong that nothing can pierce it. Which is largely true, and after that you end up having to do enormous missile strike from the air, and they call that spamming, but it's just that you don't have any choice. Here a small dogfight or escape, not sure. Now here we did not really see the ship that I marked to attack here. Yeah, okay, they did not see us, but we did not really see them much either. And there was a will to actually do an airstrike on that. That was the reason why there was two F-18 flying around. Okay, let's speed things up, because right now I think this is mostly about pulling back. So F-18 strike here. And that's why you need two. First of all, you have many missiles which can miss, and secondly, many missiles might be intercepted. So the F-18 is really effective at taking care of that. And ultimately, the way you use them is really to send them patrolling around if you have a visual on something, and just destroy the isolated ship, because that ship did not have any escort. As a result, it got destroyed by the air. It wasn't my ship. That Oliver Azor here is in trouble. You can see the pact effectiveness once again. Now, a lot of people they say that it's a lot about keeping your ships together, and you just have to keep your ship all together and you'll be invincible, which is true up to a certain point. But here, what we did actually, you can see that I noticed that this fleet was isolated. And they were kind of cut off from that other fleet because there was the island in between. So I decided to call in for an attack. So we moved in our fleet. And number ultimately won the day in that case. Also, I knew that this island right here was actually a good way to keep my fleet protected. Because the enemy fleet over there will not be able to target me as long as I was behind that kind of long island there. And just with the amount of missile we were shooting now, we did manage to reduce a little their fleet with the missiles. Now, our Pegasus here were a little too enthusiastic about rushing in. It was a bit of a mistake. But anyway, they had wasted all their payload. Probably for good use, I suppose. And our fleet was engaging with the cannons, and I think that's where Nato is probably good. So we started by targeting the small ship like that. And the fact that these enemy ships were actually exposing their flank probably did help us a little, because the flank of the ships are really much more vulnerable. And you can see here a very good airstrike from Alf on that ship over there. And you can also notice all the amount of rounds falling on those few Nanushka. You can see at this point that we were clearly we had wasted that fleet pretty good. There was no way they will escape. They did not even try. Now the danger will have been that this fleet could have reacted to that, and if they had, we would have been potentially in trouble. But they just decided to sit there. The guy was really defensive, or perhaps he was just calling in some airstrike. Admire the sight of it. Must say the sea battle are really spectacular. I think this is one of the rare game where you really feel like you're in control of strong units shooting each other, and that the strategy or the fight will last, and then it's only a spectacular tactical move that will actually save the day. Okay, I guess this guy finally realized that his Udaloy will likely not survive. I'm not sure why he turned around, but that gave me, or that gave us a good angle on him. And the guy surrendered. So that's probably, there was only one player remaining now. The three other left. So the first one left when we crushed him here. Second one left, I don't know why, and now the third player left. So here, knowing that these ships, while they were few, still had a lot of firepower, and this guy was really determined in keeping the formation very tight. These were still a danger, so we decided to move behind cover here. Because first of all we were out of ammo, that's a bit of an issue, of course. Also, we did send our small fleet to continue to chase down the isolated enemy ships, and these ships end up costing a lot to the enemy by being alone and dying from our small fleet. Now there's an airstrike, which are, as you can see, very effective. So now what I saw there was that there was potentially an opportunity to destroy these ship over here. which were isolated. But this is a reinforcements point, and there was airstrike potentially and random ships coming in. That could have been a risk. So I wasn't sure that was possible, but it was worth trying. Anyway, these ships were in good shape for the ammo. So we gave it a try. It's just that the enemy had many cannons. Also, the anti-air cannon were a good tool to deal with our small boats. But after killing two, I guess this was just too much for the amount of ammo remaining. Also, the number of our ship had been reduced quite a bit. And I think this is also an important aspect. You see that just with the number, we didn't only manage to take care of two. And ammo-wise, we were in good condition. Still had 5 rounds per ship. And we only managed to kill 2, and each of these ship costs 50, so if you add it up, having very few is not worth it, having a lot is worth it, because then you have the capacity to focus fire. Unfortunately, we did have those airstrike, which were effective at taking care of isolated ships once again. And here you can see that I'm calling, actually it's not me, it's Alf, which is calling in Fremantle. And what we'll try to do now is capture Hotel, because it's pretty clear to us now that there's no more danger around here. So what matters now is to capture this place. Now here's some help from a fellow player. Some supplies, really appreciated. At this point we split our fleet. I'm sending back my small ships, or actually Alf is, or we're both sending our stuff there. And you can see that I'm simply ignoring the presence of the enemy fleet over here. And we're heading toward there to secure that place. And it's really important to secure the hotel in this grand plan, essentially, because then we'll be able to call in more reinforcements from hotel, and we'll be able to put the pressure on Lima. Well, you can see that the Russian fleet is just staying in this area. It's like he's pretty much in the open. If we were to send a fleet here, it will be completely in the open. But the thing is that the Russian fleet will be able to beat anything you throw at him here. And also, all the planes are unable to kill all of them. But fortunately here we seem to be doing some damage with some airstrike. But his trouble now, he's alone of course, is that he needs to have Kilo and Lima to have points. But at some point that will lose interest for him, because he won't have any more units. So now I'm deploying my fleet in the back over here. And all this to put the pressure on that small group of ships over here. And notice how very few of my missiles managed to go through. Some of them miss. Also, Alf here, I told him to start engaging this area, because the enemy will have been able to potentially engage my fleet, which will have put me in danger. So I had to have another fleet keeping these where they were. Otherwise, if that fleet will have simply rushed me or rush Alf, I think we'll likely have lose this, because there's a kind of well, the Russians are so strong in their fleet that it will have been difficult for any single of our fleet to survive. But you can see here how I'm completely out of ammo when it comes to missile. Fortunately, I do have one supply ship. And now it's all about using this island for preventing that fleet from shooting me. Also, I would like to point out the formation I'm in, which expose these ships to enemy missiles. So this fleet is actually shooting at these ships here, but my other ships are intercepting the incoming missile. So this is a pretty good defensive position, and this is a good illustration of how you're potentially able to use the terrain to your advantage. Also, I'm able to deal with whatever that fleet throw at me over here. And now if we look at the supply situation, all the enemy supply ships are out of resources. So it's clear that the enemy will run out of ammo, especially missile. Also, our ally here is joining the party, because I invited them to do so, and essentially I said ready for the final blow. So here you have a fleet which is firing their missile in all directions against 3 different fleets which is surrounding them. Look at the situation right now. Sadly, our ally was out of planes. I don't know how he lost them all. Probably by attacking those fleet, that ship, small fleet here, and pulling out over the enemy fleet, which probably was a big mistake. But I cannot confirm. So now our fleet was shooting their missile at him. While here, I think the situation for supplies was pretty bad. Just when it comes to the missiles, of course. And his fleet now managed to regroup into one single unity of fleet. He's exposing his side, which can be a good idea, because front and rear guns might shoot, but I think for most of his ships it wasn't necessarily a good idea. The exchange of fire from that fleet all the way there was very useful, because making them waste their missile on him here did serve us well, because he had much more chance of being missed by the enemy missile. He also had much more chance of destroying them because of the range, while here we were rather close. So the enemy would have been much more effective at destroying our ships. Also, he was out of supplies here for the most part. Now, if we look at this, let's see. Well, his Tarantula still had a good amount of missile, but these ships only have 4 missiles, so I guess he was keeping them. I'm not sure why he was keeping them. And now that's the part where I decided that we will charge. So Alf start to move. He probably had the best approach, because there was the island to protect him. And here I started to move as well. Well, I don't know if my ally... yeah, okay, started to move supply stuff. Not particularly useful at that point. But that is the part where it gets interesting. Now it's cannon versus cannon for the most part. So the first target is the Udaloi, of course, because this is probably the most effective enemy ships. It's also exposed on both flanks. I can see that we're losing a few ships on the way. There's a few airstrike coming in. Also, the establishment of a smoke screen. The purpose of this is largely to divide the enemy fire, so that first of all, Alf will not receive all the fire. So by putting smoke screen, you divide their fire, making them less effective, and dividing the target on which they can inflict damage. So I'm losing a few ships, but we killed the Udaloi. Now in my case, I started to target the Tarantulas. Let's get rid of the interface. Release that anyway at the moment. So a lot of artillery falling in also. Our fleet is engaging. Pohang is engaging at close proximity, which might not have been a good idea because of those anti-air guns. Here my fleet is taking a lot of damage, but they're still able to fight. Because the main strength of NATO fleet is the Type 21 when it comes to cannon fight. And here I had 3 Type 21 plus 1 an Atsuki, which were protected by a few Pohang. Also Half had a few Type 21 as well. I think that's 1, 2, 3. We had the same deck for the most part, except for the planes. So you see how we're slowly but surely destroying their fleet, one ship at a time. And they waited to use their missile here, but when you look at it, it's very likely that waiting was a bad idea, because now their Tarantula probably were aiming badly because of the suppression, and also they were the missile, when you launch them initially, are probably an easier target to destroy, so it's probably a better idea. Now our ally here joined the fun, so shooting different targets with the Oliver Azar. Now there's also another aspect which did play out quite a bit. If you look at the Unjiang, for example, it was out of ammo. So that's an important thing. When you look at the Jianggu here, out of ammo. The other Jianggu here was very low in ammo at this point, here as well. So just the amount of ships we had allowed us to easily win this, because the enemy ran out. They used all their ammo on the missiles, which is probably what the Pact is the best at. But ultimately, we ended up winning this because we had more ships, meaning more target, but also much more ammo to throw at the enemy. I'm not sure how that smoke screen was helping us at that point. But I guess since most of our guns are radar guided, I'm not sure the smoke was that useful. It might be useful. I don't know if it's useful that much. But at least it was a good distraction. So there is a Sov remaining. Finally destroyed. And now there's just a few ships remaining. Here I did a small move with my Pohang to kill a few choppers. And here's the last enemy ship, which I believe is the last command ship. And also the fact that we engage the enemy fleet from multiple angles allowed us to fire at them in the flank, and that saved us a lot of ammo and time also, because the flank has 2 armor while the front and rear have 4 armor. So that was another pretty cool battle, as you can see. And in this case, well, we don't really see my result there. But that was a pretty good round. Alf did most of the kills, and it was a very good cooperation, also very well done tactically speaking. And I think this is a good illustration of how you can actually defeat the pack pretty well, I will not say easily, but comfortably, and using tactic as opposed to simply spamming one type of unit. Because ultimately, sure, we had a lot of ships, but these were not the main fleet at all. We had other ships as well, it's just that we kept them in reserve. So ultimately, while we had the number with those small ships early on in the battle, you cannot really call that spam, because they cost way less. So I think that is a very good example of a deck which you don't really see being played at all. I never saw anybody use this strategy before in this game other than myself, and I think this is very effective. And actually the player that we used this against, some of them were really offended by the spam, while others were amazed by the effectiveness of it and the innovation of it. So I hope you also appreciate this, and I hope you enjoyed the show, because I think these battles were pretty spectacular. And I'll see you on the next guide.